The best exercise is the one that feels the smoothest to you, that you feel the most in the target muscle you're trying to train. It is easily progressible and you can stick to it long term because you enjoy the fuck out of it. And as a bonus, it is stretch biased. So let's begin. I will start with the exercise that transformed my physique the most. I always had a weakness in my chest. I literally had a chicken chest, which didn't look aesthetic at all. This exercise literally transformed my chicken chest into an ass chest. The exercise I'm talking about is the flat dumbbell fly press. The fly press combines the elements and benefits from a fly and a bench press and combines them together into one single exercise. You get a huge stretch in the bottom just as in a fly, and because your arms aren't out to the side all the way, you still have the ability to use heavy weights and to press the weight up just like in a bench press. So you get the best of both worlds. This is especially beneficial for people like me who have stronger limbs. My triceps were absolutely dominating every single chest movement and I never felt my chest ever. And since I incorporated this exercise, my chest grew a lot bigger and now I feel my chest even pumped up to the max after a set of 5 on bench press, which you would consider a power movement and not a movement that gives you a great muscle burn or stimulus. Of course, it gives you a good stimulus, but you know what I mean. You can do this exercise in lots of variations with a flat bench, with an incline bench, your legs resting on the bench like Arnold used to do. For the lats, the best exercise, of course, is the pull-up. It could be any pull-up variation. If you do them long enough, if you get strong as fuck on them, whether it's for reps or for added weight, you will have wide and thick ass lats. If you observe calisthenics athletes, which back training only consists of pull-ups, you notice that their backs almost match the backs of elite bodybuilders. So don't sleep on a pull-up, don't use it as a warm-up, use it as your main exercise like I did for 5 years straight, and it will serve you well. It is easily progressible, you can load it up heavily, it is of benefit to you whether you're bulking or cutting. When you're bulking, even when you're not adding any weight to the exercise, you are still getting progressively stronger because your body weight is increasing over time. This means automatic progression without having to think about it. Even if your reps stay the same across multiple years of bulking, you've still gotten a lot stronger. And once you cut, if you're interested in it, you can actually showcase your strength and get stronger on the weighted pull-up or do max rep PRs. My upper back got thick as fuck once I started introducing chest supported rows. It could be any type of chest supported row with a dumbbell, with a machine, a low row. As long as you're using a chest support, it will build a thick fucking upper back. The chest support itself allows you to really round your back around the pad instead of having to stabilize it when you're doing a free weighted row. You need to get strong also on bent over rows, T-bar rows and stuff like that. But the chest support really gives you that isolated effect only on the upper back and taking out the spinal erectors. Every single person nowadays is skipping front delt work because they listen to the influencers who said that including overhead press variations will overdevelop the front delts, which is fucking bullshit. Once I started incorporating the AD press or the high incline press, whether with a barbell or a Smith machine or a solid shoulder press machine, my front delts, side delts, and especially my upper chest blew the fuck up. Training the front delts with a heavy compound will not only build your front delts, but the upper shelf, which is also your upper chest. So don't only do incline benching, but high incline benching or shoulder pressing. The shoulder press also builds the side delts, which I can confirm from my anecdotal experience. And the shoulder press that hits them the most and which made my whole shoulder cramp the fuck up when I first started doing them is the behind the neck press. The behind the neck press is an old school exercise which everyone in the silver era and the golden era did before the lateral raise was invented, and even back then when they only did overhead presses and behind the neck presses they had huge fucking delts. But maybe you don't have the spot for 2 overhead press variations in your program, which I can absolutely understand if you want to prioritize your chest more than your delts, or maybe you don't have the patience to get into this movement because it is dangerous. It is not if you micro-load it and introduce yourself to the exercise slowly. If you are that guy, and even if not, the best exercise in my opinion is the cable lateral raise. The cable lateral raise, when set up right, will give you the most stretch out of any lateral raise variation, and as you all know, the stretch position is the most important and hypertrophic part of any movement. So definitely prioritize cable lateral raises over dumbbell. If you liked this video so far and got some new inspirations for your program, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. For the rear delts, most of your back training, especially your rows, will take care of your rear delts. But for myself, I had non-existent rear delts, but I literally fixed that and changed how my whole delt looks from the side within like a few months by just adding the cable rear delt fly, whether it's with both arms or with one arm at a time, but not including row variations. This exercise is the best exercise for rear delts by far. If you position yourself right, this exercise focuses on the stretch position instead of in the shortened or protracted position, which is especially rare for exercises in the back, as any type of row or pull-up variation without the fancy machine is the most hardest in the contracted position, which means that you are leaving lots of gains on the table if you're not utilizing partial reps, going beyond failure, or using exercises like the cable, rear delt fly. Triceps is my best body part by far, and I can contribute my tricep size, especially my long head, to only one exercise. And this exercise is the leaning overhead cable extension. This is the first exercise that I did back then when I started training as my main triceps movement. I still think that I have maybe superior arm genetics than some other, but it is no coincidence that I did this exercise from the start. My long head of the triceps looks like a fucking tumor. When it comes to only picking one exercise for the triceps, you definitely need an exercise which emphasizes the long head. You could go without any push-down variation and just spam overhead extensions if your elbows can handle it, as the lateral and medial delt gets absolutely trashed by press variations, especially if you do a close grip on them. But the long head doesn't get activated unless you are training in a position where your arm is over your head or behind your body. When your arm is over your head, the long head is maximally stretched, and when it is behind your body, like in a dual rope or single rope extension, it is maximally shortened. The leaning variation of the overhead cable extension, unlike the normal one, gives you maximum stability and will therefore give you the ability to use more weight and especially do more force reps after hitting failure or strategic cheat reps. When it comes to the biceps, again, this is one of my best body parts, and I can contribute the most growth from the inclined dumbbell curl. The inclined dumbbell curl puts your arm behind your body, which lengthens the biceps maximally, but you could argue that the inclined dumbbell curl loses tension in the most stretched position at the bottom because of how free weights and gravity works. Then a dumbbell preacher curl or especially a Bayesian curl would be better, but I will still stick with the dumbbell incline curl because you can get progressively strong as fuck on it and load up heavy ass weights. But this is my own anecdotal experience. I haven't given the Bayesian curl, which is on paper the best bicep exercise, enough time. Bayesian curl is the same as the dumbbell incline curl. It puts your arm behind your body, which stretches the bicep maximally. But at the bottom position, if you set up the cable right, it can make the lift even more stretch biased. If you pick any of those two movements, you will for sure get big fucking biceps. For the whole forearm, the extensors, the brachialis, the flexors, the most beneficial exercise in my opinion would be a hammer curl. And if that is not enough for you, you can add any type of wrist curl. And if that is not enough for you either, because you want to absolutely maximize your forearm gains and look like Popeye, I would advise you to also train your wrist extensors, which is a small fucking muscle, but can make a difference in your overall forearm look. For the traps, you want to really load up heavy ass weights and focus on the weighted stretch instead of just squeezing at the top. Your traps are activated to the max when you're doing heavy deadlifts. What makes you think that someone who can hold a 500-pound deadlift can grow traps from using baby weights and squeezing at the top? So the best exercise for the traps are either a heavy hip hinge, it could be anything, stiff leg deadlift, a conventional deadlift, trap bar deadlift, RDL. Use one that you have the most fun with and is the most specific to your goals. Just using a hip hinge is enough for blowing up on traps, but if that is not enough for you and you haven't seen any growth from it, make sure to include a shrug somewhere in the program. And the shrug of my choice would be a power shrug variation. Power shrug is just like a normal shrug, but with a slight modification, which is that instead of using a controlled tempo, you bend in the knees and extend, exploding up with your legs, shrugging up at the top. As we all know, the weighted stretch is the most hypertrophic part of the lift, and if you're catching the weight at the bottom when the stretch is the most active, with a fast fucking tempo for many reps and with lots of fucking weights, your traps will blow the fuck up. Length and partials and the weighted stretch is in a fucking hype right now, so why shouldn't you include a power shrug? It looks exotic, but it's effective as fuck. Some people may say that you don't need to train your abs, but I personally think that it is important to train your abs if you want to maximize that chiseled look or not look like a fat fuck in your bulk. I myself have trash fucking abs genetics, or I just didn't train them at all, which caused them to look weak and non-existent. I'll keep it simple. There are two parts of the abs, the upper and lower abs. For the upper, you need a sit-up variation, and for the lower, a leg raise variation. My favorite sit-up variation is a weighted sit-up. It is very simple. You're either doing an incline on a flat floor, or you can use a moon bench or moon implement, which will make the lift more lengthened, biased, and potentially give you more gains. The most popular exercise for the lower abs is a hanging leg raise, which I absolutely despise. Every time I put it into my program, I just skip it or change the exercise after just a week. So my favorite lower ab exercise is a dragon flag or a candlestick. You can do this on any bench or on the floor holding a rack. Tom Platz is always preaching about the squat, and I do think that the squat is one of the best exercises you can do, but only if you're built for it. If you have not the structure to go as deep as you can and stay as upright as you can on the squat, you will end up with fucking chicken legs. I myself can go ass to fucking grass on the squat, but I cannot stay upright for the dear life of it. So if you're not built for the squat, the best two exercises for your quads would be a leg press or a hack squat. On paper, the hack squat is a better quad exercise. It is literally perfect for the quads. I myself haven't given the hack squat enough time to say that it is better than the leg press, but I can definitely say that the leg press is an S fucking tier exercise. Every time I prioritize the leg press, my squat form looks better, my quads are bigger, I'm stronger on the squats even though I don't train it. Every time I do a leg press I get a fucking cramp while and after the exercise. So the best exercise for the quads is either a leg press or a hack squat. For the hamstrings, you cannot just pick one exercise, as the hamstrings need two movements, which is a hip hinge and a leg curl. The hip hinge focuses on the upper part of the hamstring and the leg curl on the lower part. In my opinion, the best upper hamstring exercise is the stiff leg deadlift. The stiff leg deadlift gives you a little bit more range of motion than RDL. It standardizes the form. It gives you the same feeling of fucking up some heavy ass weights like in a conventional deadlift without fatiguing you and burning you out. And it is more focused on the hamstring itself because you're keeping your legs as stiff as possible compared to RDL where you're bending your knees a little bit. The RDL is more glute focused and the stiff leg deadlift is more hamstring focused. For the lower hamstrings, there are not lots of exercise options, but the best exercise is definitely the seated hamstring curl. The seated hamstring curl, because of the position your upper body and your lower body is in, it puts you in more of a stretch position than in the normal lying leg curl. And as you all know, the stretch position is the most hypertrophic part, blah blah blah. You get the point. That's why it's the GOAT! The GOAT! The best glute exercise is, in my opinion, the Bulgarian split squats. Whether you're performing it with a dumbbell, with a barbell, or a Smith machine, the Bulgarian split squats will get your quads and especially your glutes thick as fuck. But if I could choose only one Bulgarian split squat variation, it would be the Smith machine. The Smith machine gives you max stability, which makes you therefore focus on the exercise itself and using as much force, creating as much mechanical tension as possible in the target muscle itself, instead of just balancing the weight as with a dumbbell or a barbell. The worst for last, calves. Thank God I'm genetically gifted. But if not, I would do a donkey calf raise, which is sadly not available at every gym. If it is not, the second best option would be a leg press calf raise. I would suggest to only focus on calf raises where your legs are extended or where you're standing, as this trains both calf muscles, the gastroc and the soleus, maximally. But when you're doing a seated calf raise, the soleus, which is under the gastroc, gets trained maximally and the gastroc loses a bit of tension and focus. And because the gastroc is actually visible and above the soleus, focusing on standing calf raise variations is more beneficial than seated ones. If you want to spice up your calf training because it is boring as fuck, I would suggest you to use cluster sets, myo reps, rest pause sets, and intensity techniques like that. Also when training calves, don't only stop when you can't do a full rep, abuse lengthen partials, abuse the way to stretch, bounce to the bottom, absolutely annihilate your calves if you want to grow them maximally. But the best exercise, again, is the one that feels the smoothest to you, that which you can progress in long term, that you can stick to long term because you enjoy it. It doesn't matter whether you're doing a Smith machine bench press or a barbell bench press. On paper, the Smith machine bench press is better when it comes to maximizing muscle growth because you're more stable and can just focus on pushing the weight instead of on your technique. But if you absolutely enjoy barbell training, do what feels the best for you and what you enjoy the most. If you do those two things for every single body part and train long term for 5, 10, 15 years, you will get big as fuck. So don't overthink it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to watch another one right here.